I forgot something in that last video about this tattoo. See that one? I don't know if you can see the roses, the flowers. It is a rose necklace, a pink rose necklace. Okay, and you might be able to see the heart. There's a heart right down the center of my throat. Okay, that has a girl's name right there that says Faith. Okay, so this story is actually pretty long because it's associated with so many other things that were happening that relates to uh, a drive motor vortex that is burning through a lot of different places. This is when I was at the Naval Weapons Station, Seal Beach. This is when I was at Satellite Systems Command. This is when I was at Information Systems Command and Space Transportation Systems Command. And at the same time that I went after basically that company for dumping a gazillion gallons of highly toxic stuff into the groundwater that feeds tap water for 12 million people. That led to an enormous amount of trauma as a result of dealing with inverted consciousness or weaponized consciousness that came after me. In which I got hit with what's called a double whammy, which means I not only had my son taken out of my life as a result of the way that that asset, which was the mother of that child, was used against me, as well as the assets at Rockwell were used against me to basically throw me out on the streets without access to my son or any money. Okay. And so I landed in one of their, this is sort of how it works. I went into one of their institutions as a safe haven, even though you realize these are dangerous places. You might not ever come out of one of these unless you know how to navigate through one of those in consciousness, because this is all AI drug territory. And so when I was in there, there was another girl that was in there that worked as a supervisor for Ma Bell. And for some reason, I was attracted to her magnetically. But there's a natural healer in me, even though I was feeling very depressed at the time. I was knocked out. It's like, man, you're out of service. I got knocked out of service. Okay. That's sort of a long story, but it didn't take me long to be able to reboot, recalibrate, light myself on fire. But the girl that I met in this hospital, which was matter of fact, I'll tell you where it is, in Pomona, California. It was called New Horizons. That's right, it was called New Horizons. And guess what? I wore a heart here with a pink rose necklace. And the shrink that was writing drugs, guess what? He was wearing a gold necklace. He was a shrink out of the University of California, Los Angeles, right near Beverly Hills, right? And his gold necklace said 10. I'm a 10. Naturally, it's got to be gold, right? Anunnaki ring a bell? And so anyway, I was in there. You ever seen the movie One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest? We love to tell our stories. Everything that I experienced when I punched my ticket in 2016 and everything that I experienced, I realized I wrote my own timeline. And you realize that a lot of what we experience that we put on record is to leave it on record for others to learn from. And which means you're a multitasker. Okay, much like they are in the other direction. Nevertheless, they were threatening me because I refused to take any of their meds. Okay, for obvious reasons. Okay, I needed a timeout. I don't want your medicine. I just need a timeout. Right, curl up in a ball. Leave me alone. I'm recovering my energy. I'm trying to hold on to my energy. That's really what it is. Okay, energy restoration. So you go back up into the womb of a goddess, right? Mama, I'm with you. Remind yourself of where you came from, who you are. Nevertheless, I managed to be able to get out of that hospital without having a 5150 on me. If you know what a 5150 is in California, a shrink can put a hold on you so that you don't get out of there. You might not ever get out of there. They know how to do that to you. They will do that to you. Okay, and there's a lot I know about their methods of like not getting a job, not getting any money, and not these other things. Because remember, you're in their system. Okay, through this particular AI. Oh, you better well believe it. Black goo stuff. Yeah, yeah, yeah. They're nanotech. Their code delivery system, burning that goo code stuff off, right? So there are a lot of different ways that I know how to do that. I probably could do another video on stuff like that because I've done it on a lot of different occasions, which is called reboot, 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 rehabilitate, rehabilitate, rehabilitate. Because the job that you do, that you know that you're going into areas where you're going to be exposed to it all the time, let alone what they put in the sky with that crap. Jesus. I mean, that's what it is, assimilation. Other movies, Hobbs and Shaw. Go watch Hobbs and Shaw. The Matrix. Remember all the black goo coming right into Neo. And what did Neo do? Neo burned it all off with all of his light, didn't he? You better believe I'm not a machine. But then we're back into Ma Chi. So again, we're back to the way that they use the English language, which is babble. But in this particular case, I met this girl, and she, ironically enough, had a previous marriage with a guy who was a hitman, otherwise known as a made man in the mob, right? So there's not a coincidence there, right? And so she was there for me. But because of what had happened with my son, I was not interested in a relationship with a woman, okay? Because I realized the essence of my soul and my spirit as a healer is if I'm going to have a relationship with you, you're going to get eternal unconditional love from me that goes on forever. So we're going to be around for a while as long as we want to hang out with each other. And she had 2 younger daughters and a son who was 14 years of age who was going in the other direction through heavy metal crap and all the programming stuff, right? Nevertheless, she asked me if I would come and stay with her because I was already staying in another place who was a good friend of mine who was also married with some children till I could regroup, as they say, right? In military terms, spiritual terms, when you're on a spiritual battlefield. She gave me a place to stay so I could hang out with beautiful energy because she was one of the most peaceful, kindest, generous spirits I'd ever known in my life. And at a time when I needed it most, she made an intersection with me. That's not a coincidence. Okay? She played an integral, important part in my own healing and everything that she gave me out of the kindness and sweetness of her own heart. At a time when I was taking a really bad nosedive. I honor her, and I honor her energy and her spirit for what she gave me out of love to me. Okay? So that's why I do this. Okay? I will always honor her forever for the love she gave me, for the kindness, the compassion, the generosity, and the empathy of everything that she did. So that's how that comes about. That's how we heal each other, by the way. Right? It's the sharing of the love and the compassion that we have for each other because we know what we're being held captive by, which is oppressive vampiric energy that's feeding on us, draining our battery, attacking us in every direction that it can with all their psych and tech, psychotropic weapons, psychotronic weapons, right? So you know that something that's got to build and use a weapon against you is basically powerless because it means that they want to knock your energy down because they're not running the energy that you are. Otherwise, they wouldn't do that to you, would they? Right. So in terms of food chains, as you measure a food chain, you can measure where they're at and where you're at energetically, right? So obviously, anything that's needing any energy for you, they're obviously not very powerful. And it tells you a lot about the pathway that they chose to take and learn through to become what they are at any one moment of downtime, what they're learning as they go with their magnet in their mirror, what they're learning as they go through the relationships they have through all the others, what they're learning and who they're learning through, because that's their journey. Right? So they're on their journey, we're on our journey. But I know one thing, accountability is there. There is energetic accountability for the things that you do with your energy that do not serve the best interests of the whole tree of life creation, right? Yeah. I mean, that's how branches get cut, right? Branch directories. It's basically self-suicide. Because you got to realize that anything that represents a virus, right, that's eating away at the fabric of creation, which is just like Oppenheimer said, right? I have become destroyer worlds. At some point in time, it's just like Frank Capra showing the elephant. You get enough ants together, just like in their movie Star Wars. There's a lot more of us than there is of you. And when the word gets out, hey, that's as far as you go. Everybody's going to start headhunting you. Okay? Which is like, and actually it was very painful for me to experience when Patty Broussard mentioned about how a Draco reptilian can never ascend because it's a pure apex predator. That's painful to know that. I began thinking to myself how you could return and somehow alter their software and what it is that they are so they could experience what love is, so they had the possibility. I mean, these are just very painful things to experience, to realize that. You know, because of how it uses its energy. Right? It is what it is. So it's like an Energizer bunny without an off switch that is consuming energy and wants to control everything and perceives its power through that means. So you know that, as I think Patty mentioned one time, that in another galaxy, it's like in the olden days of the black and white westerns with Steve McQueen, the bounty hunter. What was the name of that show? Right? The bounty hunters are going to start coming after you. People start putting a price out on your head. So all it takes is, you know, if people are wanting resources and they define the perception of power through money and resources, like all you got to do is, you know, watch the movie Dune or Star Wars and the bounty hunters and some of the later versions of Star Wars. Hey, we're after all the Dracos, man. I'll tell you what, we'll put all the bounty. In other words, instead of having to devote, you know, 4,000 Starfleets that come from a gazillion different galaxies that are finally going to decide to eradicate every single one of them. Right? So in other words, what they did is no longer stored in anybody's memory. We don't have any memory anymore of these guys that came from Orion. As a matter of fact, Orion doesn't exist anymore. Really? Yeah. Those wars happened so long ago, they don't exist anymore. As a matter of fact, they don't exist in anybody's memory anymore. That branch of the universe is gone. That galaxy just could not get its act together. It wasn't willing to comply with the rest of the universe that decided to move on without it, because the rest of the universe complies with love is the law, because that's what they are, that they defend and protect. Which is a far larger formation of beings that are part of that whole universe that abide by that simple law, because they honor it, which means their word is their bond, which is their honor, which is their soul. You know, so these become the knowings, just like in the movie The Knowing. You know, that it's like saying at some point in time, you got to realize it's not like you're going to be able to go on forever, continue to do what you do. Like somebody's going to give you a blank check to do it without some accountability at some point in time. Because the more and more souls keep getting fractured and used as food, is going to give that many more beings when the word gets out through the coconut wireless from one star system to another star system to another galaxy. Because then all of a sudden some of the other galaxies is going to go, oh, well, they haven't got over here yet. Oh, but don't think that they're not going to try and find a way to get over there to control your galaxy as well. Well, we better cut them off the pass and eradicate them now before we have to deal with them. And that's called protection. That's called a risk analysis, isn't it? Threat assessment to the whole universe. So now you understand security protocols and an entire supercluster. And that's a measurement of what? A virus. I remember she said one time, oh, you have no idea. This is just one little outpost out here. And I remember when Patty said that, I said, I know. How much do we got to burn off? Because that's what a virus is. As if it never existed. Because it can't infect another operating system. It can't infect another planet again. Because its consciousness is dead light. Okay, which is strictly the mental field. Right? It doesn't experience love through its heart emotionally. And unfortunately, you understand how that came about. And so that's the battleground. So I'll leave it there. I just simply wanted to follow up with why I have this necklace. I have a rose on my left arm. I have another rose on my right arm. I have a butterfly on my shoulder. And I have a fairy on my right side over here. Sort of like the first time that I saw Tinkerbell. Remember Tinkerbell? Tinkerbell that came down from the Matterhorn. We used to go to Disneyland when I was a teenager because they had live bands where you could go meet a girl when I was a teenager, go dancing all night, go on the rides, go on the train, right? One of these days, maybe I'll do some stories about Disneyland because there were a lot of unknowns, but knowns. When they first built that park in Anaheim back in the 1950s. Why I was there quite a bit. Collecting data. Yeah, some of the rooms have numbers, particularly one that's right there on Main Street, not including the haunted house. And what's the other one over in Fantasyland? It's a Small World. Children go missing. Yeah, those are, those stories. So anyway, it's we're winding this thing down, right? Winding it down. No, wind that motor up.